What is up, y'all? Can you believe it? Because I sure can't. That we are finally at 1 month post Trikafta. It has been a whirlwind. It's been a life changer. It's flipped my world upside down in ways that I was not expecting and was not mentally prepared for, and all for the better. But it's definitely been a huge adjustment to myself, to my husband, to my parents, to my family, to everyone around me, because essentially life as I've known it has changed in the past month. Can't believe that I'm like being able to be honest with y'all when I say that 3 pills a day, 2 pills in the morning and 1 pill at night has changed my life. And it's completely just, I mean, I'm just overwhelmed by all of it. I can't even really put it into words, but I just wanted to go ahead and walk y'all through what's happened in the past month, because so much has happened and every day has been different, and it's been an ever-changing and ever-evolving journey over the past month. Everyone keeps saying, my Trikafta journey, and at this point it always just sounds like gross, but honestly, that's what it's been. So the first week, I don't really have to tell y'all much about it. I made a video about it, but essentially the highlighting key points. The first 48 hours were hell. Everything that was in my body, all the mucus, 24 years of mucus in my lungs and sinuses just came out at once. And it was constant and it was annoying. And it felt just, I mean, it was, when people say the purge, not everyone has been experiencing it to the extent that I know I was, and I'm sure some people had it more intensive than I did, but it seriously felt as though I could not get enough mucus out of my body at one time. But what's crazy is once it was out, it was out. The first night, so the first day that I started Trikafta, I went out for a friend's birthday dinner, which I originally wasn't planning on starting Trikafta that day because of all the side effects. I was planning on waiting until the next day, which was a Sunday, to start it, but it came in. I got like too excited and I just went ahead and took it anyways. But that evening, probably around 10 o'clock at night, we were on the way home from dinner, I got this crazy headache like in my head. I'm used to like sinus headaches, like who isn't with CF, but I had an actual like headache in the like head part of me that I've never experienced before. Hate to break it to y'all, I've had that same headache every single day. However, I have finally figured out, it took 4 weeks, but I finally figured out what works to kick it, and that's 2 Excedrin. So I was taking Aleve and I was taking Tylenol and it was not going away. Finally, I ran out of Tylenol and I went to go buy more, and instead I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and try Excedrin. It's for migraines, so let's just see how it works. And it's been working beautifully. So every morning now I've been taking 2 Excedrin just to start off my day, and it's been pretty good. I may get one later on in the evening, but the bottle says not to take more than 2 in 24 hours. So at that point, I just wait until I go to sleep and then I'm fine. But because of all of the coughing and bringing everything up, my body was so sore. Every muscle in my body, every bone in my body just hurt so bad. My lungs were aching, my back was sore, my rib cage, and I'm sure it was all muscular because it was just, it was almost to the point of being unbearable. It was so uncomfortable, but luckily after like a week, it was fine. Everything kind of, you know, just like if you work out, you have to expect your muscles to be sore, and essentially my lungs were working out my entire body by how much intensive coughing I was doing non-stop. So my whole body was just really, really sore, but I was like taking Aleve around the clock. At this point I was still taking oxycodone that I get written from palliative care. Praise Jesus, hallelujah, haven't taken any in over 2 weeks now, when I have been taking it for months or probably a year now. So we'll get to that later though, like stay tuned, we'll get to that. I don't want to jump too far ahead. I felt like I was having like asthmatic symptoms. Like my lungs, they felt clear, but they felt tight. So although I could like cough and wasn't really bringing much up, I still felt very short of breath and very wheezy. So I was doing a ton of albuterol, a ton of Activent, which is another kind of bronchodilator, and it just was not helping. Doing so, I went to clinic, and whenever I went into clinic, I asked my respiratory therapist, okay, I'm on day, I can't remember exactly what day it was, maybe 5 or 6. How many, I don't think that, like, I feel really tight chested. How long does it usually take for people to really start seeing any kind of improvements in their lung function from being on Trikafta? And he said, some people it's 3 days and some people it's a week. So I was like, oh, okay, super skeptical. He asked me where I thought I'd be, and I was like, honestly, I think I'm gonna be a little bit up from last time, because last time was post-hospitalization, post-IV antibiotics. I was like, I think I'm gonna be up a little bit, but I feel very, very tight, so I don't think I'll be up that much. I was up 21%. That is uncalled for. That's insane. I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it. I don't think it's all from Trikafta. I've said that once, I'll say it again. I think it was still my body, Trikafta in conjunction with my body recovering from being so sick before, but still, that's insane. I went and gave my sputum sample, and it was essentially clear. I couldn't get up anything with color. It was wild. During that first week, I think maybe it must have been because of how poorly I was feeling, just physically, because I really didn't feel good the first week at all. And that caused me to be more depressed than usual. I just didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I think that was because I felt so bad physically. So week 2 rolls around, and this is actually the week of Christmas. And I kid you not when I say it felt like it was an overnight change. After feeling so bad for so long, I didn't know what really, like, I just woke up feeling good, with energy, feeling clear. I wasn't in pain. I wasn't coughing. I started noticing in week 2 that doing my treatments wasn't doing anything for me. I would do my vest and my hypertonic saline and not cough one single time, which is insane. I mean, usually I get on my vest, I start coughing. I do my hypertonic, I start coughing. Doing it together, of course, it's going to throw me into a crazy coughing fit to the point of throwing up, to a point where a lot of times I have to do them separately because my body can't handle doing them at the same time. But I was able to do them at the same time and nothing. I was sitting there in the mornings doing my vest and having like my earbuds in, listening to Spotify and singing along, not coughing, just feeling good, which is just a blessing. I have no way else to describe it. I wasn't needing oxygen. I have slept with oxygen every night for the past 1.5 years, almost 2 years. I have not used any oxygen since week 1 of Trikafta, which is absolutely insane. Because I was feeling good, my emotional state suddenly went from being really bad to really good really quickly. And I just thought to myself and started realizing, I think the reason why I've struggled with depression so much over the years is just because I felt so bad. I've spent so much time over the past 2 years during my decline, and my quick decline at that, just laying on the couch all day, every day in pain, or needing pain medicine and things like that, not being able to go out with my friends, not being able to do anything, being home alone. So of course I'm depressed. How could you not be? But now suddenly I have this energy and I feel good and I'm able to breathe and I'm not coughing and I'm smiling constantly. I'm glowing, people are saying. I went into Christmas Eve at my in-laws' house, and my father-in-law, I was talking with everybody for a little while, and he just looks at me. He was watching me for a while as I talked to everybody, and he goes, "Holly, I've never seen you look this good." I was like, "Mr. Don, I've never felt this good. It's probably been a decade since I felt anywhere near like this." That puts me in middle school, y'all. Like, it's been such a long time, and it's honest to God, like where everyone else is seeing it in me. I started being able to eat more. Okay, so before Trikafta, I was eating maybe 1 meal a day, and that was with an appetite stimulant. Whether if that was Marinol or whether if it was edibles, I needed something to even get one meal a day in. Suddenly, I started being able to eat. I wasn't eating tons and tons and tons, but I was able to eat without needing an appetite stimulant, and I was able to eat small amounts throughout the day during week 2. And I was monitoring my blood sugars during this time, and I was terrified of having low blood sugars. I'd heard so many people having blood sugar drops during this time because suddenly their body's creating the amount of insulin they need. So I stopped taking insulin during week 1. And I was monitoring my blood sugar, and I noticed I was eating more, like more than before. And my blood sugars were staying completely normal. Then the night of Christmas Eve to Christmas Day, we stayed the night at my in-laws Christmas Eve and then traveled to my family's house on Christmas Day. Christmas Eve, I woke up at about 6 a.m. having probably about 4 hours of sleep and could not go back to sleep because I had so much energy. We had planned for me to sleep in, my husband and his brother to go play tennis in the morning, me sleep in, get up leisurely, and then make our way to my family's house. I was up and at him before he was up. And then just out in the living room having conversation and coffee with my in-laws, just like a normal adult would. It was absolutely crazy, but with as little sleep as I was getting, I never felt tired because this continued on. For probably the next 2 weeks, for all of week 2 and all of week 3, I never slept more than probably 4 to 5 hours a night. Insomnia was real. But I couldn't complain because I was wide awake. But what was weird was I tried everything to be able to help me sleep because at that point I was bored. Everyone else was asleep and I'm like, I have nothing else to do at this point, y'all. There was a point during week 3 where I went 48 hours without falling asleep and then was still completely fine the next day. Didn't fall asleep the next day until after 5 a.m. and then was awake by 8:30 and then completely fine. It's just, I wasn't sleeping. But as I've talked to other people who are on Trikafta, I'm learning that's been very, very normal. None of us have been sleeping because I think our bodies are just so full of energy now, and it's just the weird adjustment period, I think, where your body's not having to work so hard from breathing and just to keep you alive, where you have this extra energy that your body doesn't know what to do with because you're actually able to function as a normal human for the most part. When I say that, it makes it sound like I'm saying that I'm cured of CF. I'm not. I'm definitely not, but it's been night and day difference. I feel, if I don't see a cure in my lifetime, and this is as close as it gets, which it probably is, I'm 100%, 1000% okay with that. But during that first night when I first started having the insomnia, the night of Christmas Eve to Christmas Day, I started having night sweats. Really, really bad night sweats. I'm talking the room's at 68 degrees, fans are on, I'm in a t-shirt and underwear, and I'm soaked to the point where I have to change the sheets, to the point where I'm changing clothes more than once. It was like this for probably 2 weeks as well, all of week 2 and all of week 3 as well. So then Christmas Day comes and we go over to my family's house. So I see both my parents, both my brothers, my sister-in-law, and my mama. And I walk in, just full of energy, just feeling good, looking good, happy to be there, just happy to be alive. And I'm talking with my brother and Cameron and my sister-in-law, and my brother is just his jaw is just dropped, and he's like, Holly, I can't get over this. I can tell the difference in your voice. You, for the first time, you sound clear. You don't sound like you're getting out of breath from talking like you always do. And I was just like, yeah, I'm not, just humble brag, but it's at that moment I realized it. And then it was told again later on that day that my voice had changed, that I did sound more clear, and then I started noticing it myself. So Christmas Day, I just realized that was the first day that I noticed exactly how much energy I actually had. I mean, so much energy. I felt so good. And then I was just later that evening, just on my phone. I go through my emails just to check for whatever, and I see that I have a patient portal message, and I was like, from the day before. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and check it. And it was a message from my pulmonologist with my sputum culture results from my clinic appointment, saying that I was not growing Pseudomonas. Y'all, I've been growing Pseudomonas since I was 4 years old, and I'm 24 now, so that's 20 years that I've had constant antibiotics, IV, oral, inhaled, trying to treat it, and never have been able to get rid of it. And then being on this medication, it cleared my lungs out so much to where it wasn't growing out. It never grew out. I didn't even believe it, so I emailed her back being like, excuse me, this shows, it did show that I was growing staph still, which is fine because that's one that I've been able to treat a lot easier. That's not been a chronic infection of mine. That's been one that like comes and goes. Pseudomonas is always there. To the point, so I emailed my pulmonologist back and I was like, wait a second, does that mean that there's no Pseudomonas growing out? And she was like, no, there's not. And immediately I showed my parents the email and we all started crying. It was what felt like a Christmas miracle out of a movie. It did not feel real. I immediately took to my Instagram because I couldn't contain it. And again, the thing is about all this is everything that's happening has been happening so quickly to where it doesn't sound real and it doesn't feel real. If I wasn't me and I was someone else with CF or just someone else in general, and I was reading my stories or watching these videos and not seeing it firsthand and everything, I think that I was full of crap. I would say, this girl, she's a liar, she's exaggerating. It doesn't work that way. But here I am. I'm not lying to y'all. I can't lie to y'all. And everyone who's been on Trikafta, well, not everybody, but a lot of people who have been on Trikafta are having similar results. So that evening, I started feeling very, very feverish. I wasn't running a fever, but I was sweating constantly, but I was cold. So it felt like I had a fever and it was breaking, but I kept checking, and I didn't actually have a fever. I don't know what was up with that. It must have been a side effect. It lasted about 3 or 4 days. Actually, it probably lasted more like 4 or 5 days, where I was just sweating continuously. And I've always been someone who's never really sweat before. Suddenly, I'm sweating every day, so I'm having to take a shower every day. And I still don't know what caused that, why that was, but it was happening. So week 3 was a big week. I traveled to Memphis with my family to go visit Graceland and do all the touristy things that are Elvis related, and then it was New Year's Eve. So it was a lot back to back that we were very, very worried about. When we planned this trip to Memphis a couple months prior, I was very reluctant on going because I was expecting myself to be feeling too bad to want to be able to go out and do stuff. We expected me to be on a lot of oxygen and a lot of pain medicine and to be able to do very little. My mom, whenever we went to pack, she insisted on me bringing oxygen tanks, even though I knew in my heart of hearts, my soul of souls, that I did not need them. But my mom being my mom, I brought 3 small oxygen tanks with me, just in case. Of course, they were never used. They never even got out of the car. But with what we were doing, there was a ton of walking. I don't know if any of y'all have ever visited Graceland or have just gone to a city where you're just exploring basically. It's a lot of walking. And for a girl who has been sedentary for the past year and a half, especially the past, the month and a half previously after my hospitalization and recovering and just not recovering well, it was a lot of walking. But for the first time in a while, my legs were the only reason why I would need to take a break. My muscles started being tired. My energy was good. My lungs were good. I wasn't coughing. It was great. I still wasn't sleeping, But I'd be waking up first thing in the morning. Hey, yeah, it's like 6:30, 7 a.m. Like, can we get up? Let's go do something. Let's go get breakfast. I had enough energy every morning to get up and shower. That doesn't sound like a big deal. But let me just explain something to y'all. Showering has been very, very difficult for me for a very long time. The steam and the standing and the heat and just not being able to breathe well in there is just, it's been too much to handle. It's made it where I was showering once a week typically. On a really good week, if I had somewhere to go, twice a week. However, the last 3 weeks before Trikafta, I didn't even have energy and enough stamina to shower. I was having to take baths and wash my hair in the bath because I couldn't stand the steam and I couldn't stand the standing that long. So for me suddenly then to be able to shower every morning and want to, and it be easy and enjoyable, I would go in there. We had one of those nice showers with the rain, like with the rain fountain, what's it called? Like the rain shower head, but then the normal one. So if I didn't want to wash my hair, I'd like put a shower cap on and just turn them both of them on and just stand there and be like, ah, this is nice. And be able to breathe while I was doing it. And I'm like, okay, I understand now why my husband likes hour-long showers to relax. Where for me, I'm like 5 minutes in and out as quickly as possible. I was able to enjoy it. For the first time in my life, I feel like, especially like first time easily since middle school. I would then be able to dry my hair without having to take more than one break because my arm would get tired. Typically, drying my hair would take about 30 to 45 minutes because I could only go for a few seconds, maybe a minute or two at a time before getting overheated, being out of breath, feeling weak and needing to like rest. And suddenly I'm drying my hair in like less than 10 minutes with only taking one break because my arm gets tired. It was just mind-blowing. And then still having energy then to put on a full face of makeup, which I've loved makeup for as long as I can remember, but over the past 2 years, I've stopped doing it really, except for very rare occasions because I haven't had the energy, nor the desire in my mind. I'm like, I feel terrible. Why am I gonna exert all my energy to put on a full face of makeup to lay on the couch where now like I'm enjoying doing my makeup again. I'm enjoying doing my hair again. I'm enjoying being a girl again, dressing cute again. I feel like my old self again. My mom even said that during this trip. I was just up, walking around, dancing, doing my thing, and my mom made the comment like, oh, we have the old fun Holly back. I'm the me that I haven't known in years. I'm the me that I was whenever I first met my husband, but better. It's given me my personality back because I finally feel good. During the whole time, my parents kept pleading for me to do my treatments. Holly, do your best. Holly, do your breathing treatments. Holly, do this. Holly, do that. And I'd be like, y'all, you realize it's not doing anything for me, so why would I? They're like, please, if you love us, you'll do it. So finally, I would give in. And then they would see for themselves, I'm doing a full round of treatments and not coughing. I would huff and huff and huff, and nothing would come out. So it got to the point where finally they're like, okay, fine, like, we'll back off. And I felt great. I woke up every day just like a ball of energy from sun up till sundown. Every evening after a long day of walking and exploring and doing touristy things and being active, I would then want to like go down to the piano bar with my mom and sing and dance along to the guy at the piano bar. Like this lady got me up dancing to Crocodile Rock and I was dancing the whole time in front of everybody and not getting out of breath, not coughing. My legs were hurting, but I'm like, I can't believe that I just did that. And I'm not coughing. Who am I? But once again, like the headache was still there, but at this point I didn't know what to do yet to get it to go away, but you know what? It was fine. During this time also, my appetite kept increasing to where I was eating 2 really big meals a day, honestly, because that's all that we had time to eat. We would eat a really big breakfast, and then we'd do stuff all afternoon, and then we'd have a really big early dinner, like around 6 o'clock-ish. During those 2 times, like I was clearing my plates at both meals, which I haven't cleared my plate and I have no idea how long. But because of that, my blood sugars suddenly started going high and I could not get them down. We were at Graceland walking around, and it was right before our tour, and I felt off. I just did not feel good. I checked my blood sugar and I was at 500. So being gone out, I didn't have any fast-acting insulin with me, so I was chugging water and trying to sit down and just like get my blood sugars to go down, and it took everything in me to get it down to like 200. And my blood sugars have been running high ever since. And because of that, although I'm eating a lot more, I'm not gaining weight because I haven't been able to get my blood sugar under control since eating again. I talked to my dietitian, and she thinks that basically my body had adapted to me eating such little to where my pancreas knew to give that much insulin. So even whenever I started eating a little bit more, which wasn't much, my insulin levels were fine. But now that I'm eating like a normal person, like my blood sugars are crazy. And just trying to figure out what my new insulin dosage is going to be a feat. So after like doing full days out in Memphis exploring and doing all kinds of stuff, my dad and my brother would want to come back and take a nap, and I was the one who was like, no, like let's go do something. Like I have all this extra energy, like let's do things, like let's go. And everyone else still needed to rest, and that just got super annoying super quickly, even because it was like, oh, so now the tables have turned. It's usually me being the one needing all the extra rest and everyone having to wait on me. And suddenly now I'm like, come on guys, like let's go. Like there's only so many hours in the day. I was riding in the car with my family, and my little brother, he doesn't really acknowledge my CF very much. He turned to me and he was like, this has been really cool. I haven't heard you cough once on this trip. Mind you, I've been staying at his house for 2 days and then sharing a bedroom with them for 3 nights, riding in the cars, being with them 24/7, and then being like, Holly, I haven't heard you cough once. This is actually really cool. That's what like almost brought tears in my eyes, because I'm like, wait a second. If even he notices, everyone notices. Once I got home, I suddenly was like, you know what? I want to fill up my schedule. I do not want to sit at home all day. The idea of sitting on the couch and watching The Office right now sounds like miserable. I want to fill up my schedule. So suddenly I'm texting friends and trying to make plans when they've tried to make plans with me for months, and I've always had to be like, sorry, I can't. Or I've had to cancel or just not show up. Suddenly I'm the one texting them being like, hey, want to go get breakfast? Hey, want to go get lunch? Hey, want to go get dinner? Hey, are you doing something today? Hey, want to go shopping? Want to do this? Where I'm like, I want to have a full schedule. It's been my husband who's had to be like, okay, Holly, let's slow it down for a minute. You need to rest. Like, you're not invincible, even though you feel like you are. New Year's Day comes, and my husband had been sick with a sinus infection for like the 3 days previous and still was sick. And I wake up early before Cameron did, and I go downstairs and I make my coffee and I start doing my treatments just for the heck of it. I have music playing, you know, just having a good old time, and I start coughing. And I start coughing stuff up for the first time in like 2 weeks. And there was blood there. It wasn't a lot of blood. It was not like a major hemoptysis episode. Heck, it wasn't even a minor episode. I don't even know if you could really consider it streaking, but it was just enough for me to be like, so I'm not cured. Wait, do I still have CF? I thought I left that behind. I thought I left that in 2019. I thought that's what happened. But apparently I'm not invincible, and I caught his sinus infection. And let me tell you, that sucker was easy to beat. Oh my gosh, where he was like laying in bed needing to sleep all day and just pitiful as can be, I was like, you know, I'm definitely like super congested. I'm having some blood, my not feeling like 100%. I'm coughing more because some of the drainage, but within like 2 or 3 days, I was back to normal, and it didn't take me out. Where typically if I would catch a normal people sick, it would take me out, but this time it didn't. What it did do was it stopped my insomnia, which who knew that I would be so glad to get sick to where I would need to sleep. So we're moving on to week 4 now, which has been this past week. And what I will say is, one, I got that sinus infection. It did stir up a little bit of stuff in my chest to where I started doing my treatments again. Whenever I was feeling sick, I was doing them twice a day, back to normal. I was getting up a little bit of stuff, not a lot, but a little bit of stuff, but at least I could say I was doing everything in my power to like take care of myself, and I was really scared about it moving from my sinuses into my lungs, so I was trying to stay as clear as possible. Now that I've kicked it, I've gone to doing them once a day, typically in the mornings, just because it's easier that way. And usually so how it works now is I'll get up and like get my coffee, do my thing, and then I'll do my treatments, and usually I'll have I'm not coughing during my treatments, I'll make myself cough about midway through. My first 10 minutes session like does nothing for me, but then once it cranks up and I start my hypertonic, then I can usually get a couple coughs and I can get a little bit of mucus out, super thin still. Sometimes it has some color, sometimes it doesn't, and then I'm good to go for the rest of the day. But I've gone back to at least doing that because, I mean, I still have CF. I don't need to act like I don't, because I'm afraid that if I start acting like I don't have it without my doctor's permission, then something's gonna hit me, something's gonna catch up with me, and I'm gonna pay for it. So at least once a day, and then I'll go back to clinic in 2 weeks and talk to them about I've been reducing my treatment load and make sure that they're okay with it. And if they fuss at me and scold me and my numbers aren't good and I'm start growing some crazy infections, then like I'll go back to doing twice a day, like fine, no problem. But until then, like I'm just gonna do my own thing and see what happens. So this week has also been the week where I figured out that the Excedrin's working, so that has been such a help. And I'm also sleeping a full 8 hours now. I'm going to sleep when my husband goes to sleep, and then waking up essentially before he leaves for work. So my idea of sleeping in now is like 7:30 in the morning, because I'm going to sleep between like 10:30 and 11:30. So I'm getting like a full 8 hours of sleep and then just waking up rested and feeling good every single day. But what's not awesome is the fact that I feel like I'm never not hungry. I am eating 3 to 4 meals a day, plus snacks, plus tube feeds, and I'm still hungry. I'm going to bed, like I'll eat a huge like bowl of chili and cornbread and actually be like physically stuffed, where my stomach like says max capacity, do not add more, but I'm still like, dang, I'm hungry. So I'll bring a Boost up to bed with me, and waiting for Cameron to come to bed, I'm like drinking a Boost in bed, just like, come on, let's go. Like, come on, let's get these gains. But I'm not gaining weight. And again, it all comes back to my blood sugar. I've been instructed to increase my insulin dosage, and I did that yesterday, but I think I increased it too much, and then I had a blood sugar drop. So I took it down a little bit today. I think it's gonna take a while for me and my endocrinologist to really figure out where I need to be with my long-acting insulin and my short-acting insulin, mealtime coverage, everything like that, because I'm not gaining weight, most likely because my blood sugars are constantly high. I don't know if y'all remember or not, but back in November, I went to the hospital for sinus surgery, which honestly is what caused me to have a decline again from the anesthesia, because my lungs did not bounce back from anesthesia like it should have at all. But I went and had a sinus clear out. I had my sinus surgery done, and I went this week for my post-op. So again, week 1, when I cleared out my sinuses, everything that was in my sinuses came out, and I've been, other than that like slight sinus infection I had earlier, like I've been fine with my sinuses. So I went in this past week for my post-op appointment, and I saw the PA, and she came in, she was like, hey, hey Miss C, like we're gonna spray you really good today since you're post-op. We're probably gonna have a bunch of stuff to suction out and clear out from just residue from surgery. So we're just gonna spray you really good with the lidocaine and nacre. And I was like, okay, cool, sure, let's go. So she sprays me, leaves me, lets it sit in, comes back, and she asked me how often I've been rinsing. And I look at her and I was like, to be completely honest, I've been rinsing once a day. The look she gave me was if I just told her that I was committing like a federal crime. And then she starts going off on me about how, you should be doing it at least twice a day. Being post-op, you should probably be doing it 3 times a day. And asking if I'm doing it with the budesonide and just like scolding me, saying like, you know better. And I looked at her, I was like, yes, I understand that. However, and I told her about my starting Trikafta and how clear I've been and how I cleared everything out. So I haven't felt the need because nothing's coming out when I rinse my nose. So she looks at me skeptical, like very skeptical. She's like, okay, we'll see. Y'all, they scoped me and I've never seen anything so clear in my life. Her exact words were, you look like you don't have CF in your sinuses. You're beautifully clear. I take back everything I just said. Rinsing once a day is totally fine. Heck, you could probably get away with not even doing it that often. She then told me that she wants me to come back in a month, not because I need it, but that she wants Dr. Wise, my ENT, to see it for herself firsthand because she could not believe it. I mean, those are the kind of things whenever it's been reinforced. I know how good I feel. I know what everyone around me says when talking to me and seeing my energy, my personality being back. But whenever a doctor literally looks up inside your body and says it looks like you don't have CF there anymore, that is proof in the pudding right there, y'all. Afterwards, I went to have lunch with my mom at her office. So I went around her office just to see people and say hi, and one of her coworkers was talking to me and I was telling her about how good I was feeling, how great I was doing, and she was saying, Holly, since I've known you, when I've talked to you, you've always kind of had like a gurgle in your voice, like kind of from in your chest, like just like a gurgling sound. Like, that sounds disgusting, but stay with me. She was like, for the first time, you don't sound like that. You sound clear. And I was just like, I am clear. Like, I don't even know what else there is to say about it. Like, every single person is telling me the same things over and over again. You're glowing. You have so much more like you're just yourself. You have so much more like confidence about you. Your voice sounds clear. You're not coughing. You're not wheezing. You're not out of breath. Everything everyone is noticing around me is just like, I've literally cried for 3 weeks, every day for 3 weeks, just being in awe of this medication. Not just because of what it's done, but about when I got it. It was just the perfect timing because I was not responding that well at all from the anesthesia. It had been 3 weeks and my lungs still weren't bouncing back. I was still needing oxygen. I was still in so much pain. And then it just came, insurance finally accepted it, and it came on my doorstep, and it's been life-changing. I started working out again for the first time since October, doing yoga, and I'm doing the exact same stuff that I did last time. However, last time whenever I first started it, my first time starting back, last time I had to stop like 3 times to have coughing attacks. This time, I didn't cough a single time. The only time that I wanted to stop was because my leg muscles hurt so bad. Like, it's crazy. I've worked out 3 times this week and not coughed a single time during it at all. But the bad side of things. While this has been a gift from God that I could have never asked for, my family's been praying for from the time that I was diagnosed at 3 years old, that I've been wishing and wanting and needing so desperately, I was not expecting this kind of improvement so quickly, this kind of overnight change. Essentially, everything that I had planned for my life and expected for my life has now been completely flipped upside down. for the better, but it's a lot to take in. So with that has been a lot of anxiety. I have been having so many anxiety attacks, so many panic attacks, to the point where I finally found a new therapist, and my psychiatrist had to up my anxiety medication because the idea of the future now just overwhelms me. I had completely come to the grips and accepted the fact that I would be sick for the rest of my life until I got a lung transplant, and me and my husband wouldn't buy a house until it was time for a transplant so then it could be near the hospital. I wouldn't be able to work ever again. Kids were completely out of the picture. I would need to stay close by to one of our families wherever we lived so they could help us in times of need. But now all of that's changing. And it's only been a month, so I'm trying to give myself time to kind of process everything, because this has been a lot to process for legitimately my entire life changing in 1 month and not knowing what the future holds. I'm terrified that come month 3, come month 6, that my body will stop responding. I know that's not how these medications work, but that my body will stop responding, or something negative will happen, something bad will happen, and then I'll be back to where I was. And to be completely honest, I think that would be really, really hard for me. Back when I was 18, I used to run a little Tumblr blog that actually was called Dreaming and Breathing, which is where I got the name for this YouTube channel. And I remember writing a blog post all about, if you could live 24 hours CF-free, would you do it? And I said, no, I wouldn't, because I don't know what life is like without CF. So CF doesn't seem so bad to me because I don't know anything else. Now that I feel like I know, now that I've experienced this, the idea of going back to where I was for the past 2 years, it terrifies me. Terrifies me. So when people ask me like, oh, so are you going to go back to school? When are you going to start looking for jobs? Are you going to look for jobs, full-time or part-time? What are you going to do? It terrifies me. Throws me into a complete spiral, so much anxiety where I don't know who I am. Like, I have to take some time to get to know me, who I am now, what I want out of my life now, what my purpose is now, what my expectations are for myself and what my limitations for myself are, what I want out of life. Like, everything that I've ever known has changed, and now it's going to take a while to figure out and relearn how to live and how to live a life like this. And right now I'm just trying to enjoy every moment and live in the moment and just treasure and cherish every single day that I have, because I know there's so many people out there who haven't been this lucky. Can't not think about what would happen if James had gotten this medication, how much better his life would have improved. All my friends in Canada and in the UK who haven't gotten access to this medication, how much their lives would improve. All of my friends who don't have a Delta F508 gene, who can't use this, the 10% left, how much their lives would improve. So I don't want to sound ungrateful, because I'm extremely grateful. It feels like I've got a second chance at life. Like, I feel like a new person, all for the better. I feel like the best version of me possible. But it's a lot to take in. And I'd be lying if I said that I don't have any kind of little bit of survivor's guilt, knowing that I'm the lucky one, trying to humble myself. I don't want to come off as bragging, as much as grateful and excited. I'm very grateful and I'm very excited for what the next chapter holds, but I'm also very anxious about what the next chapter holds. But thank God for therapy, because I need it. But anyways, y'all, I just wanted to go ahead and say thank you to everyone who has ever donated to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, because without y'all, they wouldn't have been able to put money towards Vertex Pharmaceuticals, who have been working so hard on this drug for the past 20 years, and I wouldn't be able to have this opportunity right now. So if you've ever donated $5, $500, $5,000, I don't care how much, thank you so much. Honestly, thank you. I wouldn't be able to sit here smiling and wearing normal people clothes with my makeup done and enjoying life if it wasn't for all of y'all. But I will keep y'all updated. I have clinic in about a week and a half, and I will most likely bring y'all along for the journey. Gosh, I hate that I keep saying journey. I'll bring y'all along for the ride and keep y'all updated throughout this whole process. Until next time, bye y'all.